Welcome back everyone to the channel. Today's video we're going to be doing an interior overview of the 2020 CLA 45. If you're looking to buy an A35, A45, CLA 35, these interiors are very similar, so this video is for you even if you're not getting the CLA 45. This video has been requested a lot of times because people want to see how cool the interior is, and let me tell you, it is a very cool interior. We're going to go over a couple things: comfort, interior features, some of the technology, not a full overview of the MBUX system because I'm going to save that for another video, but I'll go over some high-level features of the MBUX system, and we're going to do some tests in terms of comfort, and we're going to go over some things that I don't really like about the interior, some things that they should have fixed before shipping the car out, and yeah, that'll be the video. So let's not waste too much time, let's jump right into the video. So I thought the first thing that we could do is go over how well I fit in this car. I'm almost about 5'11" in height, so that's just as a reference for you guys to see how well I fit in the front seat and the back seat. So first thing, we're gonna hop into the front seat. I'm gonna adjust it to my seating position, and I'll give you guys a kind of like a review on how well I fit for this car, because it is a smaller car, so you taller people might have issues in terms of sitting in the back especially, and the front, but let's go over that right now to see how well I fit. So this is my optimal seating position when I'm driving in this car. You can see I do have enough leg room here. I do push my seat a little bit further up than most people do my height. I just kind of like being a little bit closer. I do like having more of a claustrophobic area when I'm driving, so I do push the seat up a little bit more than usual. But other than that, I still have enough leg room. Headroom is completely fine. I mean, if you're like 6'4", 6'5", you might start having issues, but I don't know, I probably still have a good enough room. And it's nice that there is a sunroof, so you do have extra room there. In terms of height, being able to see out, it's not like a sports car. The windshield's not really pushed down a lot, so even if you're sitting really tall, you can still see the road perfectly fine. You won't be clipping on the headliner where you won't be able to see outside of the car. The one issue though is if you are, above 6 foot, around 6'4", 6'5", you will be pushing the seat all the way back to the point where you can't fit people in the back seat. I do have friends that are like around 6'5", and when they sit in this car, they push the seat all the way back, so there's no room literally for anyone to sit behind them because the seat's all the way back. So if you are looking to buy this car and you are tall, you can drive in this car perfectly fine. You'll fit fine driving, but in terms of having people in the back seat with you while you're driving, it is going to be a little too tight to actually fit someone where they'll be comfortably sitting because you have the seat all the way back. But in terms of overall comfort, it's a very nice position. They do a really good job with lowering the seat as much as they can. This is the lowest setting, I think. Overall though, you do sit really far down, which I really like, especially driving at this height. But overall, like I said, very comfortable. The steering column is manual. You can't get an automatic one, which is kind of lame, so you can adjust that with the seat. You'll get a very comfortable position. I typically have trouble sitting and being comfortable in cars, but this car really didn't have that much issue adjusting my seat to be able to sit perfectly how I want while I'm driving. So the ultimate test is the rear seat. So if I sit down here, you can see I do have still a good enough leg room. Like I said, this seat is positioned to what would be the optimal seating position for me at my height when I'm driving. There's still good enough leg room here. The back seats are a little too, I guess, like straight up. So they kind of sit at a 90-degree angle, not so much. I would say probably like 80 degrees. So it's not too comfortable back here. The one issue that you will run into though is headroom. There really isn't much at all. I'm sitting how I would normally, and I literally have like an inch left of headroom. And like I said, I'm almost about 5'11". So if you're 6 foot or above, you're really gonna have a lot of issues in terms of headroom. You could lay back and kind of sit like this, but then again, the person in front of you would have to be very short for you to be sitting comfortably like that. And still, with that angle on the back seat, it really is not comfortable back here. I mean, you can fit people here, but if you have like a long road trip or, a long amount of hours in terms of driving and having people sit back here, they're gonna have issues. They're not gonna be comfortable. It's not bad on short sprints, but on long road trips, it's not going to be comfortable, and you can only really fit 2 people back here. Even though there's a middle partition here, you're not gonna fit 3 people, it's just impossible. 2 max, and they would have to be kind of short to actually sit comfortably. All right, now that we've gone over how I fit in this car, let's go over some of the interior features. So first thing to note is that this panel right here is Alcantara, like a suede Alcantara material. I don't know if it's actual Alcantara, I'm assuming not. Because it is a CLA, it probably doesn't have real Alcantara, but it's a nice suede, feels like Alcantara, and it looks really nice. It has cross-thread stitching, some aluminum elements here. The window switches are not aluminum, which is kind of dumb in my opinion, because it just feels cheap as like a cheap black plastic. Could have done a aluminum like this, but again they didn't, so that kind of sucks, but it's not too bad. And the C63, that is aluminum and it looks good. Then you have black plastic coming down here, some little bit of aluminum trim on the really bad sound system. Then you have a light here, but overall the door panel is really nice. You do have different choices. You can get a full leather, so instead of suede it would be full leather. You can get a red interior. I think you can get a yellow cross stitching interior, so the stitching here would be yellow, this would be yellow, but I think that is reserved for the CLA 45 and A45S versions, which is only available in the UK and Europe in those markets. The other thing is you do have black headliner, which is really nice because I don't like when cars have a black interior and then a tan or a white headliner. It just looks really cheap in my opinion. So essentially the interior has a updated MBUX system, which I've gone over a few times. It has a double screen infotainment system, so you have the regular home screen here and then you have the actual gauge cluster here. I think it looks really nice. It looks very modern. The bezel is kind of big, but overall I still think it looks really good. So to continue interior materials, you have the same thing like on the door. You have a mixture of Alcantara, leather, red coloring, so you have red leather here for the 12 o'clock band, and then you also do have red stitching on the steering wheel, which I think looks really good, complements the whole interior, and it just feels more of an AMG with those kind of elements. You do have aluminum here, regular plastic for the airbag. You do have the new AMG specific dials on the steering wheel, which is really cool because you can change stuff on the whim, change the exhaust, you know, change modes. I think that is really cool. This is an option if you don't have the AMG Dynamics package, so make sure you check on the website to see what options are available for this car. Then you do have aluminum down here, AMG logo, leather just like on top, and overall it looks amazing. Matches the door very nicely. So if we move over here, you see you have the gloss black plastic. I am not a fan of this. Dust and fingerprints just get covered in it, and it looks really cheap. It moves down here as well. You do have that gloss black, and it's annoying because you do press a lot of these things. You do have your hand all over this area, so you do pick up fingerprints and dust. You can see how quickly dust and fingerprints pick up on this material, and overall I'm not a fan. I'd rather have carbon fiber, but again, it is a CLA. I don't expect carbon fiber on here, but it would be cool. Over here you have an AMG specific design, which is another option. If you don't go for that, you can get gloss black, or you can just get the full aluminum. I like this design, to be honest. I think it gives a unique look, and too much aluminum on one panel just doesn't look that good, so I welcome this little AMG design. Some people think it's corny. I like it. Instead of doing a black plastic, it did a black rubber, which is soft to the touch, and overall just looks a lot better than having plastic. I hate when cars are covered in that plastic, like on the door panel. Over here you have that rubber, and I actually think it gives it a more premium look, and that extends all the way over here to all the way over there, and it just gives the dashboard a more premium look. On that side, same thing as the driver's side, aluminum, suede, and leather. So the seats have the same design as the door panels, where you have suede in the middle, a mixture of leather and red stitching, and in my opinion is my favorite seat option in this car, because I love having Alcantara inserts. It just hides the wrinkles and everything else a lot better than leather. With leather you see wrinkles almost instantly. With Alcantara you really don't see it at all, and I think it looks more premium that way. With that being said, it is hard to maintain and keep this clean. You got to make sure that you do use the appropriate products, which I'll do a video on how to clean suede seats, so you guys know how to do that if you get these seats. So the other cool thing about the seats, which you can see back there, is that they actually light up the headrest with the LEDs that match inside here, which I'll be going over very soon, and I think that's a really cool look. In terms of comfort though, these seats do suck a lot, so if you have the option, get the performance seats. Trust me, buy those seats over the these seats because these seats are just really not that great. If you can get the performance seats, definitely get those. If I could have, I would have gotten those over these 100% sure. Even if I lose the LEDs up here, I mean, it really doesn't matter. You don't see them that much anyway, so like, who really cares? But I mean, it's not bad comfort. It's just not as good as the performance seats and not as good as comfort seats should be, which makes it a huge disappointment in my opinion. With the red stitching, you do get red seat belts, which I think is an amazing feature. I really wish C63s and E63s would do this because I don't know, it just looks cooler. It looks more of an AMG inside when you have a red seat belt or yellow or orange, whatever color, because the most premium sport car brands do colored seat belts, and I think it's really cool that they do this for this car, but they should do that for the other cars as well, in my opinion. The back seats, same thing. You really can't see because it's kind of dark, but suede inserts, red stitching, and then a mixture of leather and then the red seat belts to match. So I've had a lot of questions in terms of interior quality. So yes, it does use really nice material here, like suede, aluminum here, you know, black rubber here, but how is the quality? So I've seen a few videos of people demonstrating how these things creak a lot, and in my experience, like, I'm pushing down here, it's really not that bad. Not bad here. Like up here does creak a little bit if you force it, but overall when you're driving you don't hear any creaks really that bad in terms of creaking in this area. I don't hear anything over here. The one place I do hear creaking though is here and there, which I think someone commented saying you can get that fixed, which is really nice, but overall it's like it's really annoying because when you're driving, that rattles and this rattles, and it is so annoying. And normally you could drown it out by playing, you know, music as loud as you can, but again, the sound system in this car is one of the worst I've ever experienced. I'm not going to go in depth on it because it's just going to make me mad. The sound system is just terrible in here, but overall I think the quality is a lot better than the last gen CLA and a lot better than people expect for a CLA. They could do a better job of putting stuff together because there is some gaps here and there that just look really cheap, and like I said, piano black doesn't look good. Creaking here, creaking there, but most importantly creaking on the door panels, which they really need to fix because that is the most annoying part. But other than that, I haven't heard really too many rattlings or creaks in this car. Compared to my C63, I actually did rattle a little bit more than this car, but again, give it time. The more mileage on this car, I think the more it's going to creak, but hopefully, you know, fingers crossed it doesn't. But overall, quality is a lot better than I expected. So I think the number one thing people want to see is the interior lighting. So we're going to go over the system real quick. So you kind of have like a main screen here, and you can go over the different options here: navigation, phone, radio, then you have media if your phone's connected, comfort, which is essentially the air conditioning and those things, track pace if you have that option, AMG performance, which gives you a bunch of AMG performance styles, which we can go over right now. So you have vehicle, so that just kind of tells you suspension, how it's being articulated. Then you have the G meter on that screen, acceleration and braking percentage. Then you can do a full screen, which is really cool. Then I think the one that people use the most is engine. So you get the, you know, how much horsepower you're using, engine torque, and temperature gauges. I think is really cool. So if we give it a few revs, you can see that the gauges read the actual performance of this car. So I think the one feature people really want to go over is the interior lighting. So this interior lighting is one of the industry best in my opinion, especially for a smaller car like this. I think the interior lighting is so on point, and it's really cool because you can change the ambient lighting to pretty much whatever you want. So here you can change the brightness and the color, and then it tells you what option you pick, and it kind of gives you an overview in the car of what it looks like. So if we go to color, so there's different multicolor animation. So I have that activated right now. So right now it's purple sky. So if we go to ocean blue, it's going to change the whole interior into blue. If we go to red moon, it does a mixture of like red, pink, and purples. You can see that up on the dials. And then here, interior lighting. The interior lighting goes into the pockets here, and down in the footwells, you can see it's red. If we go, it's kind of hard to move around. So there's actually a lot. I didn't really notice how many there was. So there's fire red. So that just changes everything to like an orange fire. So it kind of looks like it is a fireplace. So you go dawn blue. So dawn blue is a mixture of blue and yellows. sun yellow, jungle green, glacier blue, then color flash. I mean, there's nothing here. I don't know if that's like a, I don't know. I guess it doesn't have any color. Oh, I guess it like fades in and fades out kind of, which is kind of cool. You can go to different just regular colors. So I think if we turn off the animation, turn off the multicolor, then you can just choose one color and you can just go through the dial and literally change to like hundreds of colors. I mean, look, you got green, which is crazy. Blue, reds, purples, pretty much any color that you can think of. You can even do white. I didn't know that you could do that. It actually is really cool. But yeah, you have like, I don't know, like 60, 90 different colors, and it shows you right in the middle which color you're choosing. But I mean, that's amazing. And the same thing with the rear, so the headrests and then the back seats, you can see in the footwells, there's also color. Then you have a bunch of apps here, smartphone, browser, hotel, weather. See what else we got. Cafes, restaurants, Mercedes, me. There is an option to have the front camera for the augmented reality navigation to be a dash cam. I don't have that, but that's for the 2021. So the one feature I think is kind of cool is that if you go to comfort, there's actually seat kinetics. So it actually moves the lumbars every now and then, and you can click play, I guess, and it will like move it around just to kind of give you a more relaxing feel. And I can feel the actual adjustments being made right now on the seat. It's like moving by itself, and it's very weird, but I guess it's supposed to help with long trips for muscle fatigue, and especially with these seats, you definitely need them because these seats are really not that great. All right, so now let's go to the main screen and show you guys a little bit of the features. So if you click home on the steering wheel, you get a bunch of different menus here. You can switch to AMG Performance. You can go to navigation. So if we go to navigation, you see there is like a, you know, northeast traveling, but if you go down here, you can actually see the map on the center screen. And if you scroll down one more time and click display, it gives you a full navigation display, full screen, and gives you all the other information as it's legally required. But I think that's really cool how it actually will show you a full screen navigation, just like in the Audi virtual cockpit, you get the same thing. So I think it's really cool that even in this smaller, you know, lower end Mercedes, you get that feature in here, and I think that's really cool. You can go to phone, you go to assistance, heads up display, which this car does have a heads up display, trip meter, radio, media, the signs and display. So you can switch what you want. You can go to sport, which is sort of like a, you know, obviously sportier than usual. That's navigation. So if we exit out of that, you can see you got the rev meter here, then the speedometer here, and a bunch of different gauges here. And if you switch over, you can actually switch through and change, get a G meter, get fuel consumption, get navigation there too if you want, distance control for the adaptive cruise, and then you can switch again. So if we go back to designs and display, you can go to classic, which is, you know, the base CLA has this. I don't think you can switch it to anything else when you have the base CLA, but with the CLA 45 AMG, you can switch it around. Then you have like regular gauges here. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks good. And then understated, I've never used this before. Oh, okay, so this is like the, like, I don't know, hybrid look. I'm not a fan of it, in my opinion. I don't think I'll ever use the understated, but I typically use the Super Sport or Sport. Let's go to Sport. These ones are usually my favorite. And then in the middle, you can switch. So you can have AMG Performance, you have the boost gauge, I guess another boost gauge, what your settings you're in, G meter, and things like that. It's very customizable. You can switch back and forth with the steering wheel and change all the things that you want. I think that's really cool that they offer this kind of customization, especially in this kind of car. I just think it's really cool that they let you do as much as you can. Then I don't know if you can see on the heads-up display, you can switch around the menu and do different things with the heads-up display. And I might add that this is one of the biggest heads-up displays I've ever used. It's not as big as the new S-Class, but it is 2 or 3 times bigger than my old C63 heads-up display. So if you guys were wondering how big it is, it's definitely a big heads-up display, and it looks really nice. Doesn't really get in the way, in my opinion. In terms of overall comfort, especially on long road trips, I've done 14-hour trips in this car, I think 2 of them, and so far I really haven't experienced too much fatigue in terms of, you know, comfort or discomfort in this car, especially on long hauls. Like I said, these seats in this car, the comfort seats, are really not that great. So I think if you had the performance seats, they would be a lot better on road trips and you'd feel a lot more comfortable. But overall, even on the 14-hour road trips that I was on, on, it really wasn't that bad at all. I think the interior comfort in this car actually surprised me by a lot, because I expected this car to be, one, lacking a lot of quality, and two, really not being that cozy or comfortable. But it's proven me wrong. This car is very, very cozy inside, especially thanks to the interior lighting and the different types of materials that they use inside. This car is very comfortable. So if you were second guessing yourself on this car because of the interior, let me tell you that this interior has definitely impressed me, and that's coming from a $100,000 C63S interior. I'm saying this car is very, very nice inside. Sure, it needs some work in terms of like the creaking and rattling. It's not so bad in my car, but some other cars have experienced really bad rattling. You can take it to the dealership to get it fixed, and they will fix it for you. So overall, I think this interior has amazed me by so much, and I'm really glad I chose this car. So again, if you're deciding and debating on buying this car, but you aren't sure how the inside would be, you can always go to a dealership, check it out yourself, or take what I've said in this video to help influence your decision. Thank you again for watching today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot more videos on the CLA 45 and many other cars coming very soon. I'll see you guys on the Wednesday upload.